Hi everyone, thank you for joining. We're going to kick off our webinar very soon. We're just going to give it a minute or so for people to filter in, and then we'll get started.
In the meantime, let us know in the chat where you guys are calling in from. We love to hear where everybody is at and what they're looking at outside right now. I'll start. I'm calling in from Oregon, just outside of Crater Lake National Park.
Love that. We'll get started in probably the next 30 seconds or so. All right, let's kick things off. Well, hello and welcome, everybody. I hope you're all having a tremendous day so far, and we're thrilled to have you join us to learn about these important and often overlooked funding streams for your nonprofit. We know how busy this time of year can be, and so we're here to make this session worth your while. We've packed it full of strategies and actionable tips to help you educate and attract unique types of gifts to your organization. So without much further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the people who you'll be spending some time with today. I'm Chris Carey. I'm the nonprofit portfolio manager here at Carnegie, and I work with clients to provide strategic guidance to help organizations achieve their financial goals, as well as creating custom portfolios tailored to the needs of the nonprofit sector. We also have Megan Lenkowski. She's Carnegie's nonprofit development specialist. She has over 10 years of experience in fundraising. She focuses on helping nonprofits diversify their funding streams to raise more money. And today she's excited to share practical insights and proven strategies to help your organization attract more non-cash gifts, unlocking new opportunities for growth and sustainability. And last but most certainly not least, we have Mindy Mackey. She's the marketing manager here at Carnegie, and she specializes in nonprofit partnerships. She has an extensive knowledge of the sector, and she excels at forging strong relationships that enhance community well-being and drive impactful collaborations. With that, I'll hand over to Mindy.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everybody. We're so excited that you're here joining us today to learn about non-cash gifts. What we're going to be covering today is essentially we're going to touch base on some housekeeping things. Then we're going to start diving into understanding what non-cash gifts are and why they matter. Megan's going to cover 4 key types of non-cash gifts and then also provide some proven strategies on how to attract more of them. At the end, we will have time for questions. So, but also feel free to leave questions in the chat along the way, and I will be monitoring the chat as well. So as a reminder, everybody will receive the recording of this webinar following the hour. Like I said, there's going to be Q&A at the end. So jot your questions down as they come to you and use the chat as well. And then stick around for free resources at the end. We're going to be covering a lot of really rich material today. But we are going to be following up with some really excellent resources to bring it all together for you, and we will be emailing those out at the end of this. Megan has done a great job at creating these resources, so we're happy to share them with you following this presentation. Just a note, we are not tax or legal professionals. Everything in this presentation is you should consult your legal professional if you choose to move forward with these recommendations, and we're happy to be a resource along the way. All right, plain and simple, today's goal is to learn new ways to unlock the power of non-cash gifts to accelerate your nonprofit's growth. That's what we hope to achieve with you today. So we're going to open up with a question. We'd like to hear from you. Where do you stand on non-cash gifts? Please use the chat and let us know if you're a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Is your organization actively talking to donors about non-cash gifts, such as stocks, life insurance, or legacy gifts? If you're a 1, that means yes, this is a part of your strategy and you're shouting it from the rooftops. If you're a 2, this suggests that you drop hints here or there, but it's not a part of your ongoing strategy. If you're a 3, you're thinking about it, but you haven't implemented anything and it's on your to-do list. If you're a 4, we're just glad that you're receiving cash, let alone anything else. So that is your first job here today, is to let us know in the chat if you're a 1, 2, 3, or 4, just to get the participants thinking and interacting. And with that, I will hand it back to Chris.
Thank you so much, Mindy. So let's start off with a key question, which is, what are non-cash gifts? Simply put, these are assets or items of value that donors can contribute to your nonprofit, such as stocks or other securities, real estate, life insurance policies, qualified charitable distributions, and even in some cases, personal property like art or collectibles. Non-cash gifts are often overlooked, but they're a huge opportunity for nonprofits because these types of gifts allow donors to make significant contributions that can often exceed what they're able to give in cash. And there are many types of gifts that fall under the category of non-cash. You can see a list on screen of some examples of what they be. And today we're going to have a look at 4 key types that could make a significant impact on your organization. And as a bonus, as Mindy mentioned at the end, we'll also be sharing our 11 ways donors can support your organization guide to give you more ideas that you can then take back to your team. So, how do non-cash gifts differ from traditional cash donations? The first and foremost, it's flexibility for donors. Non-cash gifts allow donors to contribute more without dipping into their liquid funds. Cash donations are limited to what a donor can immediately part with. There is some planning required, though. Non-cash gifts typically require a little bit more planning, particularly for the donor, as they have to liaise with their financial professionals that they work with. And non-cash gifts are often the result of a well-nurtured relationship with major donors. And building these relationships can take time, but they are very worthwhile. There's also potential tax benefits. Non-cash gifts often come with significant tax advantages for donors, such as being able to forego capital gains taxes on appreciated assets. Tax advantages are unique for every type of gift and individual donor, and we'll be sharing some common tax advantages for each type of gift coming up soon. So why should you care about these nonprofit gifts? I mean, the first thing really is untapped potential. Many nonprofits focus mainly on cash donations, missing out on the opportunity presented by non-cash gifts. And these types of gifts have gained popularity and are expected to continue growing as donors learn more about optimizing their giving. Just as a stat, over 90% of US wealth is held in non-cash assets like stock, real estate, or business interest. The second part is larger contributions. Large non-profit gifts often, non-cash gifts are often in major sizes. Donors are just much more likely to donate larger amounts when they think about their wealth as a whole and not just the number in their bank account. Donors can give assets like real estate or appreciated stock that enable them to contribute much more than they could in cash. In terms of sustainability, bequests and stock gifts can provide a steady, sustainable funding stream to support your organization's future. And this is often how donors establish long-term endowments, ensuring ongoing support for your nonprofit's mission. By accepting a variety of non-cash gifts, your nonprofit can reduce its reliance solely on just cash donations and improve financial stability. And really, it's all about meeting donors where they are. Non-cash gifts appeal to donors who may not have liquid funds but hold valuable assets that they're willing to donate. And today's consumers and donors seek that more personalized approach that meets all of their needs. Offering non-cash gift options allows you to better tailor the donation experience to people's individual circumstances. And it allows you to tap into wealth beyond traditional donation methods and expand your donor base. As an example, here at Carnegie, we've even seen individual clients within our firm structure their support to a nonprofit over a multiple year time frame, where say they aim to give $100,000 per year for 10 years to an organization, and 95 plus percent of that is actually made up of individual securities, and they make up that little difference at the end with a check. So it's all about being able to meet your donors where they are and tap into that potential. But again, if they're not aware, they're not going to be able to do that. So when should you start promoting these gifts? I mean, as John Cena says, the time is now. It's never really too early to begin the conversation around non-cash gifts. Whether your organization is small or large, non-cash gifts need to be a part of your strategy. And why? Because these gifts aren't just reserved for massive behemoth organizations with big budgets. Every nonprofit, no matter its size, has donors who are capable of giving in bigger, more impactful ways. Some of your donors may already be thinking about how they can contribute beyond traditional cash donors, but they need you to open up that door for them. Some of your donors might already be looking for this opportunity to give in new ways, whether it's through stock, qualified charitable distributions, or other non-cash assets. We've spoken with clients who, prior to working with us, missed significant opportunities because they lacked the ability to even process stock donations. One organization, for example, was approached by a donor in late December offering millions of dollars in securities, which they were trying to donate to offset taxable income from the liquidity event that they just experienced at the end of the year. However, without the infrastructure to handle stock contributions, the organization missed out on the donation. It's tragic. The key takeaway really is to start now. Give donors a chance to make a bigger impact today by promoting these types of gifts. So how do you get started? Well, now that you're convinced that non-cash gifts are a vital method to receive donations for your organization, you need to know how to make them an actual part of your fundraising strategy. You might be thinking, how on earth am I going to add one more thing to my to-do list? And I get it. You're busy, you're juggling a lot, and the idea of learning something new and figuring out and how to implement that can be a little bit overwhelming. So don't worry, we've got you covered. Megan's here to walk you through 4 of the most popular non-cash gifts that nonprofits can accept. And best of all, she's going to give you actionable strategies that you can use to seamlessly integrate non-cash gifts into your fundraising without adding extra stress. So with that, Megan, over to you.
Well, thank you, Chris and Mindy. I appreciate you getting us started. So, everyone, as Chris mentioned, there are a plethora of types of non cash gifts, and we could spend hours, frankly, talking about them all. But we are going to focus on 4 key types of non-cash gifts today. Those are qualified charitable distributions, donations of stock, life insurance policy donations, and bequests. Honestly, we have so much information about all of these packed in. I also have individual resources that dive deeper into each of these 4 types of giving that I'll be sharing after the webinar. So if there is something that you're missing or you want to dive a little bit deeper on, you can feel free to reach out to me after the webinar, or you can check out these resources and those will help guide you a little bit further. So before we dive in, I want to get a feel from you guys. Has your organization ever received a non-cash gift? So what does that look like? What has that looked like in the past? How did it go? Were you actively promoting these non-cash gifts, or did this donor just come to you asking about how to make that? Let us know in the comments in the chat what your experience is so that others can learn from you as well. So the first type of giving we're going to review is qualified charitable distributions. You also may hear the terms QCD that I'll use interchangeably. So a QCD is a pretty simple concept. It is a direct transfer of funds from a donor's individual retirement account, or IRA, as many people know it by, straight to a nonprofit. So there is some eligibility requirements to take note of. To take advantage of a qualified charitable distribution, donors need to be at least 70 and a half years old. And each year they can contribute a set amount. For 2024, that amount is $105,000 directly from their IRA to your organization without having to count that money as taxable income. So essentially, a qualified charitable distribution allows donors to give from their retirement accounts in a way that lowers their tax burden while still supporting your organization. This is especially beneficial for donors who are required to take required minimum distributions, but they don't want to reduce their taxable income and pay the up to 50% penalty for not withdrawing. So once individuals reach a certain age, they are required to take a minimum amount from their retirement accounts. And if they do not take that minimum amount within the year, can face penalties of up to 50% of that money. And so instead of taking that RMD and paying taxes on it, they can actually use a qualified charitable distribution to fulfill their RMD requirement and avoid that 50% tax penalty. So, one thing I created for you all was a non cash gift readiness index. And this is a ranking for each of these types of gift to help you understand what types of donors are going to resonate with these types of gifts. So for our QCD, we have the engaged supporter. These are donors who have been consistently giving to your nonprofit and are also age eligible for QCDs and also RMDs. The age for RMDs is actually different than the age of eligibility for QCDs, and that has changed. That does change over the years, so make sure to double check what that requirement is for your donors. So these donors have shown over time that they really care about your organization, they love your mission, and because of that loyalty, they are likely candidates for making a major gift like this. What's great is that this group is typically financially savvy. So they're probably already thinking about tax saving strategies as part of their financial planning. So, what are some considerations for qualified charitable distributions? On the donor side, there is the tax benefit that we discussed. This is one of the biggest perks for donors in QCDs. It's the ability to lower their adjusted gross income without needing to itemize deductions. So this is especially helpful for those who take the standard deduction but still want to donate in a tax efficient way. It also does meet their required minimum distribution obligations, as we talked about, and it's generally simple to execute, both on the donor and the organization side. One consideration for donors is that there is this age restriction. Again, qualified charitable distributions are only available for donors aged 70 and a half or older. Looking at the nonprofit side, QCDs oftentimes allow larger donations because these are often major gifts. And because these gifts are coming from an individual's retirement account, which often represents the donor's largest asset. This also is a great opportunity for recurring gifts for your organization. Since donors are required to take RMDs annually, nonprofits can position QCDs as a regular giving opportunity year after year. There is a small amount of administrative burden and planning, mostly getting the process set up for qualified charitable distributions. And once you have it set up, it's generally very easy to manage, especially if you have the process to make sure that you handle all the proper reporting for the donors. So our next giving type is gifts of stock. And no, we don't mean cows. Making sure you guys are all awake in there still. So the question is, can nonprofits receive stock? Can nonprofits own stock? And the answer is yes. Donors can transfer ownership of appreciated stocks or other securities directly to your organization. This is a big deal because donating the stock directly, the donor can avoid paying capital gains taxes. Our non-cash gift readiness index for gifts of stock is looking at the emerging supporter. So these donors have already shown generosity and made significant contributions in the past to your organization, but they may be newer to your organization or just newer to the idea of non-cash gifts. So the key here is that they're financially ready to give, but probably need some more education on how stock donations and other non-cash gifts work and can benefit both them and the organization. And don't count out middle-aged donors either. Just because they're not in the legacy gift stage of life doesn't mean that they aren't ready to make a large impact. By giving them the right information and tools, you might be surprised at how willing they are to get involved through this non-cash gift. Some considerations for gifts of stock. On the donor side, let's first talk about the tax benefit that we mentioned. When a donor gives appreciated stock, they can avoid paying capital gains taxes, which could be as high as 20%. On top of that, they get a charitable deduction for the full market value of the stock. And this is all as long as they've held on to the stocks for more than a year. That is a key note. Second, there is also the ease of donation. For donors who already own stocks, the process to transfer stocks to an organization from the donor's end is very easy. From the organization side, well, I'll just switch over to considerations for the organization. The administrative complexity is one consideration to note, although once it's mostly the planning involved, making sure that you have the brokerage account set up. As Chris mentioned, if you don't have that infrastructure and process set up, you could lose out. So having that, getting the process set up is really the largest lift on the organization's part. Once it is set up, it is again relatively easy to make that transfer. Um, the other part to mention on considerations of nonprofits is the donor acknowledgement. So the IRS has very specific requirements for reporting a donation of stock. And so your nonprofit needs to make sure that they're giving the donor proper acknowledgement so they can claim the tax benefits that they're entitled to. You can, of course, reach out to your investment advisor to assist with getting this set up, even with the reporting to the donor, possibly as well. So make sure you reach out to them to be an asset to you. So I'm sorry I switched around a little bit. I did want to make one note on the donor side for considerations. Chris has always says, and I'm not going to say it exactly right, but something to the effect of volatility isn't a bug of the market, it's actually a function of it. But in the long term, volatility subsides. So, because of that, there may be times when a donor's portfolio is down, and it may not be the best moment for them to donate stock. So this is just something to keep in mind and to understand that market fluctuations can affect a donor's willingness to give in this type of gift. Now, the pros for the nonprofit, first, larger contributions. Because donors can avoid capital gains taxes and deduct the full value of the stock, they often can donate more than they would if they were just giving cash. This also gives you an opportunity to diversify your funding streams. Stock donations can really help diversify your revenue streams, which is key for long-term sustainability. And finally, there's no immediate sale required. So once your nonprofit receives the stock, you have the flexibility to sell it right away or hold on to it. If you think the value of the stock might go up, you have the option to hold the asset and gives you some control over how you manage it. So our third type of giving is life insurance policies, donations. So this is probably the most creative way of the four types that we're going over today. Essentially, it involves a donor either designating your nonprofit as a beneficiary of a life insurance policy or transferring ownership of an existing policy to your organization. Today, we're only going to focus on the most common type, which is when the donor retains ownership of an existing permanent life insurance policy, but names your nonprofit as the beneficiary. Then your organization will receive the death benefit once the insured person passes away. I do, again, I have a resource that I'm going to send out after on life insurance policies specifically. That goes into a little bit more about those other different types, like donors transferring ownership of the policy to the nonprofit. That comes with some extra burdens and considerations about the remaining premiums and making sure that you're not held liable for those. But that is really a less common way to give. So we're just going to focus on this most common way of naming your organization as the beneficiary. And if you have specific questions about those other types of donating life insurance policies, feel free to reach out or check out the resource that I send at the end. So our non-cash gift readiness index for life insurance policies is our loyal advocate. So these are your long-term supporters, people that have been giving to your organization year after year consistently. And they're now in the stage of life where they're starting to think about end of life planning. Their children have grown and are financially independent. They know that their spouse is well taken care of without that lump sum of money from the life insurance policy. And so this group of donors is interested in really leaving a legacy. They've already supported your mission for years, but they've always wanted to do more. And this can give them the opportunity to make a larger donation than they ever would have been able to in one lump sum. So, what are the considerations for donations of life insurance policies? For donors, they are generally affordable because these are spread out over paying relatively low premiums over a long amount of time. They can leave a significant contribution that could have a very large impact, much larger than they could have ever done during their lifetime. There are also estate tax benefits. So, depending on is set up, these gifts are generally not subject to taxes or probate costs or estate debts. And so, by gifting a life insurance policy, donors can actually reduce their taxable estate, which could help them leave more behind to their heirs. And lastly, it helps donors leave an impactful legacy. So, one of the biggest advantages is the ability for donors to create this lasting legacy that's going to live on for long after they're gone. And that is really going to help this cause that they have loved during their lifetime so much. So, considerations for the donor is the complexity. Donations of life insurance is definitely the most complex type of gift that we're reviewing today. And so that can cause some difficulties. And was even more important that if this is something that you want to open yourself up to, that you understand the process and both the legal and administrative challenges that we'll talk about in a moment. But first, we're going to talk about the pros for the organization for life donations of life insurance policies. It can create some future financial security, knowing that you have a potentially significant future payout, which can help secure your nonprofit's long-term sustainability. These often are larger gifts. Because it's one lump sum. This is also a major gift that, as I mentioned, donors can give actually more through this type of gift than they could oftentimes individually during their lifetime. And it also encourages planned giving. It makes people start thinking about this end of life, planned giving, my will. And so it could open up to other types of gifts like bequests or donations from their retirement accounts and other things like that. The considerations for the organization is mostly the complexity in managing these policies and the administrative burden. These policies come with a lot of regulations, and so your organization needs to be ready to handle communications with the insurance company, manage the policy, and make sure any premiums are paid if necessary. If they are transferring the ownership to you, that is when that becomes key. And so that is when you'll want to make sure that you understand all the requirements that you are responsible for. All right, so before we move on to our last type of giving, I'd love for you to take a second and spill the tea, and as the kids say these days, and tell us, have you ever discussed life insurance policy donations with a donor before? Have you ever made that connection, brought it up to them, had that conversation? How did it go, and what was their response like? We'd love to hear from you and have share and be able to share with others so that they can learn from you as well. So our last giving type is bequests. A bequest is a gift that a donor leaves to a nonprofit organization through their will or estate plan. It's often talked about in the planned giving. I feel like it's probably the most common planned giving that people think about. And how it works is essentially in their will, they or estate plan, they leave a specific amount of money, a percentage of their assets, or a specific asset, such as property or stocks, or personal belongings, and they leave those specifically to your organization. I know what you're thinking, but this is super awkward to bring up to donors. And I completely understand because I felt very uncomfortable at first when bringing these topics up to donors as well. But that is really one of the main reasons why these non-cash gifts are often major gift related and require that really trust and relationship with donors. It's because these conversations do require some vulnerability, and that is more easily to connect with the donor when you have that rapport, that trust, and that relationship that you've built over a long time. And so, even though these topics can feel uncomfortable for a lot of us, the fact is that studies show that people are really open to having these conversations and they even want to. So there was a survey by by the Conversation Project, and they found that 92% of Americans say that it's important to talk about end of life care. And over half, so 53% of them would even feel relieved if someone brought it up first in the conversation. So, by offering them the option to fulfill their legacy and supporting your mission, you're giving them a chance to make a difference that lasts long after they're gone. And most people want to have those discussions. So, for this type of gift, we are looking at the legacy builder. So, they've been with your organization for years and they're often involved in many different ways. They may be volunteers, they might attend your events regularly, or even serve on a committee or be an advocate for your organization. So, what sets these legacy builders apart is that they're thinking beyond just their immediate impact. They want to leave a lasting legacy, one that continues to make an impact even after they're gone. And they're committed to ensuring that the work that they've cared about so much during their lifetime continues long after they're gone. So, some considerations for bequests. For the donor, there is no immediate impact on their finances, so it allows them to make a significant future gift without affecting their current cash flow. These also offer estate tax benefits. So, for donors with larger estates, a bequest can help reduce their estate taxes, as well as it's very easy to set up. Bequests are generally pretty simple. They can include just that language that you can share with your donors, that they can include in their will that would allow them to support your organization. The one consideration of bequests for donors is that there is no real lifetime recognition. The main downside is that they won't see their impact of their gift during their lifetime. So it's a good idea that if you learn that someone has left something to you in their will, express gratitude to them now and show them how much it means to you so that they can feel good about themselves and feel that impact while they're still alive. On the nonprofit side, a general theme, these can often be significant contributions. They can lead to some future financial security and fosters a legacy of giving. And considerations is that the gift amount is a little uncertain because that can be changed at any time within someone's will. So that is a little uncertain. And there are also some legal and administrative requirements that you'll just want to make sure that everything is buttoned up on your end. So tell me, I want to hear from you guys. What is the most interesting or surprising bequest that your organization has ever received? I'll share a story that while I was development director at a local nonprofit domestic violence shelter. And while I was working there, I'd worked there for 10 years, we received a charitable annuity. And it was from a donor that had passed away. The weird thing was that we had no record of her at all in our donor system. And after I reached out to the family and invited them in and was able to talk with them, I mentioned that was so sorry, but we had no record of Mary. They laughed. They said that is just like her. That was just like her. That she always donated anonymously but that she always spoke about our organization, that she donated to us every year, and that we were near to her heart. So it's just a reminder that you never know who is out there watching, thinking about you. So keep doing the good work that you're doing, sharing your stories, sharing the ways people can support you. They may see it and take it upon themselves, and you never know, what can come out of those donations. So, in our last 10 minutes, we are going to spend talking about tips for actually attracting these types of non cash gifts. So, our first tip, and something that Chris alluded to as well, make sure your donors know about this unique option. As marketers, we have a rule that says the rule of seven. Excuse me, you need to say a rule. You need to say, we need to hear something 7 times before we remember it and our brain thinks of it as familiar and safe. In my opinion, it's even more than that because we are constantly bombarded with new information, ads, notifications all the time. So don't just talk about this option once and then never bring it up again. You want to make sure that you are talking about these types of donations everywhere that you are campaigning for donations. I am all about not creating a whole new campaign for you because who has the time for that, right? You can incorporate these non-cash gifts into the things that you're already doing in your fundraising plan. So include it in your donor welcome series to educate new donors early on. Highlight them at fundraising events with a story of how a QCD or stock donation or bequest has made an impact. Share that impact that donation had and also share social proof. More on that in a little bit. Add it to your remit envelopes, print materials, email signatures, brochures. These are prime spots to remind donors of these options. And you can also send segmented appeals that we'll talk a little bit more about as well. Mention it in your board meetings, in your impact statements, annual and year end appeals. These are all places that you should list these unique types of giving so that people know and they see it in multiple areas and under multiple communication streams as well. You want to use your website to drive non-cash gifts. So these days, everyone is doing their research online. They're going to their website, whether it's the first time they're learning about you or they just have questions and want to find out some more information. So having an optimized, easy to navigate donate page is essential. And it's important to make sure that all of these unique types of gifts are listed on your website so that they know that you're open to them. You can even offer you can even offer some sample language that they can use in their wills. They can copy and paste to include you in their planned giving. Another strategy that we've used with our nonprofit clients is creating a dedicated landing page specifically for stock donations or other non-cash gifts. As you'll see on the right here, this is a screenshot of part of one of our landing pages for an organization. It talks a little bit about the benefits stock for the donor and the organization. It shows the very easy process, talks about impact, shares a story, then has a short form. So when it is 9:30 at night and the donor's thinking, they can fill out the thinking about donating to you. They can fill that information out. Don't make them think, oh, okay, I'll call them tomorrow, because they probably won't. Get their information now, and then we can follow up with them as soon as possible and start get that process started. Use stories to share social proof. Social proof is so powerful. You want to talk about why it's beneficial, how easy it is, and that others like them are doing it too. There was a research study shown that they took two groups of donors. One group, they said, hey, this is how another donor, Sarah, benefited from making a QCD. Then they had group two and said, hey, this is how you can benefit from making a QCD. The donors in group one, which was shared that how another donor benefited from making a QCD, consistently made significantly higher contributions. What that's saying is that they heard that somebody else like them made this donation, and it made it feel more real and relatable. By framing the stock donation in a way that shows that people similar to them are already choosing this option, it makes the gift feel not only smart, but normal and doable. So, a great way to do this is by creating a giving society. Research shows that nonprofits with donor clubs or societies see nearly 50% higher per donor contributions than those that don't. That's a lot. So, when you receive a donation of stock or life insurance or a non-cash gift, celebrate it. Shout it from the rooftops, tell everyone, and in multiple ways, because remember, you post that on social, 7% of your followers are maybe seeing that post, and a majority of your supporters are not might not be following you either on social media. So highlight the donor and their impact in your newsletter, honor them at events, add personalized recognition like a brick or a tree in your lobby, share this story in impact statements and new email newsletters, and in conversations with major donors that you're having. Make sure to share these key stories wherever you can, because the more you talk about it and the more familiar and comfortable with the idea that that the donors become, the more likely they are to give to you. Our next tip: start with your board. When you're introducing new ways to give, why not turn to your biggest supporters first? Your board loves you. They are great advocates, and they often have a financial obligation to raise or donate throughout the year, anyways. So start by educating them about stock donations or other non cash gifts and the benefits that they offer for both them and your organization. Chances are they already know people in their network that could benefit from making a stock donation. So ask for referrals, or even, who knows, they might even decide to make one themselves. It's okay to be a bit vulnerable with your board members and let them know that you are introducing this new type of giving and that you are looking for a guinea pig that can help you make sure that this process is seamless and perfect for the donor. And so open up to them and let them know that this could be a huge opportunity for your organization, and ask them if they are able to help you with it. Keeping it at, and again, don't just mention it at your next board meeting and then never talk about it again. You will continue to have new board members that fall off and fall that come back on and join. Um, you'll have board members that missed it and didn't read the minutes. You'll have board members that heard that but were thinking about what they're making for dinner and that went and run it in one ear and out the other. So talk about it again and again. Make sure your board has the tools to support your organization in these ways. Segment your current donor base. So I am a full believer that every organization has major givers that are in their list right now that are untapped. So I provided a few examples of ways you would segment for each types of for each one of these non-cash gifts. So for life insurance policy donations, these gifts typically come from your biggest fans that they've been loyal to you to your mission for years. And so take a look through your CRM to find donors who have been giving consistently for years. Focus on those whose donations have been increasing over time as they're more likely to be open to a larger legacy gift. You can reach out to these long-term supporters and start nurturing those relationships. If you don't already know them personally, invite them to tour your organization or meet for coffee to learn more. Once you've established and start to build this strong relationship, then you can start to introduce the idea of this planned giving. For life insurance policies, September is National Life Insurance Awareness Month. So obviously it's the end of this month. We probably won't have time to get anything out this year, but put it on your content calendar and fundraising calendar for next year to be able to create some content and raise awareness around these life insurance policy gifts. For qualified charitable distributions, you're going to want to segment your donors by age. So because donors need to be a minimum age of 70 and a half, you want to make sure that you're segmenting your donors and educating that specific group on what the benefits of QCDs are, especially around year end. And in the resources that come to you after the webinar, I have a full template that is a QCD appeal letter template that you can send out for year-end appeals, and it is great drag and drop, copy and paste for you to use to send to this segmented list of donor to attract QCDs. There are also stock donations. So for these, you're going to focus on your high net worth individuals and donors who may have appreciated stock using you're going to want to focus on donors who have appreciated stock, and you can find that out sometimes with wealth screening tools. With these donors, you're going to want to create a personalized letter or email series that really educates about the benefits of donating these appreciated stocks and hammers hard the impact and value that they bring to your organization. And lastly, bequests. These are a perfect conversation for donors with a long history of support, but may not be in the position to make a large cash donation right now. Segment them by loyal, long-term donors who have consistently given over the years, and reach out to them and highlight how other supporters have made an impact through planned giving. Again, social proof, very, very key. All right, just a few more tips, and then we're going to move on to questions and answers. You're going to want to build relationships with local professionals. And honestly, I think that this is one of the most unique tips that we have to give today. So, when I was working as a development director, I heard from a funeral director that he oftentimes was dealing with individuals who just lost a loved one and were trying to figure out where to make a donation, where to send money in lieu of flowers of, where to direct people's donations to. And he said, it would be so helpful if I had a nice, easy rat card brochure with the information that I could give to them for them to quickly look at and then make a decision on. So what I did was I created a rack card that had all the information about our organization, about these unique types of gifts, and also about how they are beneficial to the donor and the organization. Again, remember hitting hard the story part and how these gifts impact the organization, and then build relationships with local professionals who often deal with this end of life planning, like funeral homes, financial planners, and estate lawyers. These professionals regularly help people make decisions about their wealth and estate, and sometimes individuals will ask them directly for recommendations on where they can give. So give them the tools that they need to just make that recommendation, or even just give them the option, and watch those donations start coming in. All right, we have gone over so much today already. I want to hear from you guys one more time. Tell me, who of you has promoted these non-cash gifts or legacy gifts? And has there been any specific campaign or thing that you've done within an existing campaign that really worked well for you and had a great return on investment for you? Let us know in the comments so we can share that with everybody as well. All right, so what are your next steps? Oh my gosh, Megan, you've just talked about so much. Where do I even start? I want you to write down 3 actionable tips that you learned today that you'd like to incorporate into your existing fundraising strategy. And of those 3, I want you to just circle one of them. And you heard me right, just choose one. You're going to make a commitment to yourself to tackle that one step first. We're not going to get overwhelmed and fall off the bandwagon without doing anything. We're going to start small, get our momentum going. You can even let either a colleague or myself know what you're going to do. I will help hold you accountable as well, be that friendly push to make sure that you're getting these things done. And make sure that you start small and stay focused, because these small processes and sharing these types of gifts can really have a large impact on your organization over the time. So, did we accomplish our goal? So, after hearing today's strategies, how confident are you that you can take at least one step to start attracting non-cash gifts and strengthen your fundraising efforts? Let us know in the comments. How confident are you? And even let us know the one thing that you're going to do. Speak it into existence, put it in the chat. The first thing that you are going to do to start attracting non-cash gifts, put it in the comments. All right, before we get into Q&As, I did just want to mention that we do have another webinar coming up on Tuesday, October 26th at noon Eastern Time. We're going to be diving specifically into stock donations. As you can see, there was so much more information that I wanted to pack in here for you guys today, but I really just wanted to keep it to the basics of these 4 types and give you some actionable strategies. We're going to be diving specifically into gifts of stock at this next upcoming webinar, and sharing even more ways of how you can seamlessly integrate it as part of your fundraising efforts and create a streamlined process. You will receive an email invite for that, so keep an eye out in your inbox. And then there also will be some resources in your inbox later today. We have a resource for you for each of these giving types. So if you have more questions or want to dive deeper into strategies or specifics about those types of gifts, keep an eye on your inbox. You can dive in. We have the nonprofit playbook for attracting life insurance policy gifts. We have the qualified charitable distribution appeal letter template that you can copy and paste and send to your appeal letter. We have the guide to stock donations for nonprofit fundraising, and we also have the More Than Bequests, Diversifying Your Legacy Giving program. We're also going to be sharing our 11 ways to give guide, which talks specifically about these and other unique ways donors can support your organization. And it's nice because they're split up into front and back pages that you can give out. And if someone has a question about qualified charitable distributions, you can print out or send just that page over to the donor, and it has a lot of great information for them. All right. So, thank you so much for listening to us talk so long about about these unique types of gifts and how your organization can tap into them. I'm sure you have questions, and so Mindy, would you mind leading us in our Q&A for the next several minutes?
Absolutely. First, Megan, great job. Megan is
Oh,
a
let
wealth
me
of,
take a drink.
yeah, you earned it. Megan is a wealth of knowledge and she clearly has excellent endurance as a presenter. So well done, Megan. You shared so much with us today. Just as a reminder, Megan is available to all of our clients for development support and ideas. And you can harness all the energy that she has around these topics and bring them into your organization and practices. So great job, Megan. The first question that we're going to ask today is, what is the best way to follow up and keep in touch with donors who make non-cash gifts?
So that's a great question. So first of all, we know it's so important to have that immediate acknowledgement, right? Having a quick thank you that goes out right away is important. And with today's technology, it's not very burdensome to make those acknowledgments unique to the type of gift. So, whether it is a gift of stock or a qualified charitable distribution or a gift of life insurance policy, you want to mention the type of gift and that impact in the thank you. So, what that can look like is different than a $10 donation that came in through your website. Thank you for your $10 donation. Um, that can look differently than someone who's donating, just like any of your major donors. But it is just noted that you want to make sure that those thank yous are personalized and quick and come around quickly, so that they know that that it was received, because a lot of times these transfers are taking place out of the donor's hand. The donor might tell someone or do something to say, let's make the transfer, but then they do want that final confirmation of, yes, the transfer of stock was made. You're also going to want to make sure then that you include them in your ongoing communications. So these donors that give non-cash assets, they have a high likelihood that they will be involved in other parts of your organization as well. So make sure that you invite them to special events, offer to take them to coffee, or have them over for a tour of your organization. Make sure that they know the volunteer opportunities, the other campaigns that you're doing, so that they can be well rounded. And really, it's just about allowing them to see how they can support your organization in all of those different ways. And some of those might resonate. And if they become a volunteer and also a QCD supporter, that's just further ingraining them in your organization as your VIP.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that, Megan. So, with 4 minutes left, I think now is a great time to let everyone know that we are available as a resource. If more questions come to you, please email us or call us. Megan, if you put up the next slide, they can see our nonprofit email. And please share us with colleagues that would be interested in these types of presentations and webinars, and send us your questions. Like I said, our email is right there, and Megan is happy to answer any questions that come in after this. You will receive a lot of resources following this call, as we stated. So expect a few things coming to your inbox, including all of those incredible resources that she listed earlier. And look out for our next event. And please share it with your network on LinkedIn for those of other nonprofit professionals who would benefit. And if Megan has anything else to say, she can say it now.
I
Um,
think I did. I did just want to note that you are going to be getting two separate emails, one with the recording and then one with the resources. But you will see both of those in your email. And as Mindy said, those emails will be coming directly from me. They will also have all of my contact information in them. So if you don't write it down here, know that it will be coming to your inbox. And again, please reach out. I love talking about this. I think that's part of the reason why I ended up cramming so much in, because I enjoy talking about this and helping nonprofits open up their funding streams. And we are so grateful that you joined us for this session on tapping into non-cash gifts. And we hope you all have a wonderful day.
thanks, everybody.